any mindset training when you were in basic training? Was that ever
No,
like,
no.
Wow.
thank you. Thank you.
Not even a little bit. The most now I think I told you this previously, right? But just for the women on here, prior to me entering, because I joined in 2009, there was a lot of sex scandals that came about like maybe a year after I'd already been in. So my TI was male, which there's nothing wrong with that, but there sometimes, when there's 60 plus girls, there's not a lot of camaraderie with one male TI. So you want to have someone you can trust. So that can be on the offset difficult. Secondly, on Sundays, they leave you alone because that's, go deal with God. Now, that was probably the only kind of mental health kind of relief that we had. And, that's where the chaplain would come in for whatever kind of religious belief. But as a former soccer player, and as somebody who's been in the military, I'm very more spiritual and holistic now than I ever was. And I wish I had that. I wish I had that support. I mean, yeah, I had that support in like family and like immediate friends, but never in a coach or in a leader. So it's really beautiful, the whole thing. And Lisa, that's an amazing thing you do.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have these athletes who, and a huge part of it is, do you want something better for yourself, and are you willing to put in the work? And all of these girls they knew they wanted something more than just, the level that they were at. They knew that whether it was their confidence or just doubting in their abilities or just not being able to recover from mistakes or injury, they knew that they needed something more. And so I feel so blessed that we found each other, but they are putting in the daily work. And unless you put in the work, mindset doesn't work. So it worked for them because they're those kind of kids.
Lisa, what was the one thing we were talking about off the air was discipline. That you brought this up was a great segue. Discipline versus mindset training. Is it one and the same, or are they different? Two different things that maybe have to, like work together?
Well, I think that with anything, when you're trying to recondition or when you're trying to condition yourself physically, it takes discipline because you've got to get up, you've got to show up, and you've got to put in the work. And with mindset, it's the same thing. You're just conditioning your mind. Conditioning only means training it over and over again to get a certain effect. And that takes repetition. So repetition and consistency, yes, that takes discipline. But I think maybe what you're asking is, I know lots of disciplined athletes, and I know these girls know lots of disciplined athletes that are only here and they can't get here because the physical discipline is what they're focusing on versus maybe the mental discipline. So yeah, you can be disciplined physically and put in a lot of reps and put in a lot of work, but you're still not getting to where you want to get because you're not training your mind to think the way it needs to think. And most of the way our mind has been conditioned is through negative thinking and part of that's necessary because that's our old brain that's in survival mode, protecting us from dying. So we do need to run negative thoughts. We just don't need to run them as much as we think we need to run them. We're not always living in survival mode, being chased by a saber-toothed tiger or having to, run from some guy chasing us down the street. Where most of us are living is we're in fear of failure. We're in fear of other people's judgment. And I know every single one of these girls had talked about that fear that they had, disappointing people, being judged by people. And they just didn't know how to overcome that. So I think it's both, but I think people think that if you don't have a strong mindset, you're not disciplined. And I don't think that's true. I just think people aren't teaching our youth and athletes, how to access their mind for better performance. They're just not teaching them how to do it.